This video examines Nikol Pashinyan and the calls for his removal from office. The case frames the alleged wrongful acts using legal terms consistent with international law and ICJ jurisprudence. We continue our discussion on Nikol Pashinyan's potential removal from office. The alleged wrongful acts are characterized in legal terms, drawing from established doctrines in international law. This segment focuses on Nikol Pashinyan and the context of his removal from office. The legal framing of the alleged misconduct aligns with international law and ICJ jurisprudence. We are reviewing the situation concerning Nikol Pashinyan and the demands for his removal from office. The case describes the alleged wrongful acts through legal doctrines recognized globally, including those by the ICJ. This section covers Nikol Pashinyan and the subject of his removal from office, continuing the overview of Nikol Pashinyan and the efforts to remove him from office. The conduct in question is legally characterized, relying on principles of international law and ICJ precedents. Further exploration of the issues surrounding Nikol Pashinyan's potential removal. The legal characterization of the alleged acts is consistent with international law standards. The video examines Nikol Pashinyan and the push for his removal from office. This case presents the alleged wrongful acts using legal terminology recognized in global and ICJ law, focusing again on Nikol Pashinyan and the context of removal from his position. The illegal characterization of the conduct aligns with international law and ICJ jurisprudence. A look at Nikol Pashinyan and the demands for his removal from office. Count 1 alleges a failure to protect the Armenian population of Artsakh. This includes the alleged omission to mitigate foreseeable risks and concern citizens with Western Armenia claims. The legal framing of the alleged wrongful acts draws from international law and ICJ jurisprudence. We return to Nikol Pashinyan and the discussion of his removal from office. The case characterizes the conduct as illegal based on international law and ICJ doctrines. This segment continues the analysis of Nikol Pashinyan and the subject of his removal. The alleged wrongful acts are characterized in legal terms consistent with international law. Count 1 alleges failure to protect the Armenian population of Artsakh, with cited examples illustrating the scale of harm and a failure to mitigate risks. Count 1 focuses on the alleged failure to safeguard the Artsakh Armenian population and citizens with Western Armenia claims. Documented examples illustrate the scale of harm. The failure to safeguard the Armenian population of Artsakh is central to Count 1. Authorities allegedly failed to protect against foreseeable risks. Count 1 details the alleged failure to protect the Artsakh population and citizens with Western Armenia claims. Factual examples illustrate the documented harm and lack of mitigation. Armenia is alleged to have breached obligations to protect populations under its jurisdiction, including positive obligations toward Artsakh Armenians and citizens with Western Armenia claims. Failing to take reasonable measures against foreseeable harm is cited as a breach. Due diligence was allegedly breached by failing to initiate investigations and legal actions, and not pursuing international forums for protection. Due diligence requires preventing foreseeable harm and responding appropriately. State responsibility is alleged because state conduct resulted in internationally wrongful acts, such as the failure to defend Artsakh in September 2023. These acts and omissions facilitated humanitarian and human rights violations. Command responsibility is alleged based on the respondent's effective control over state security and failure to act, despite knowing of substantial foreseeable risks. The doctrine applies when a leader should have known of risks. Command responsibility is based on the leader's control and the foreseeability of risks. The respondent had effective control but allegedly failed to act despite foreseeable substantial risks. The standard of proof applied is generally high, requiring compelling evidence of the alleged breaches. The burden of proof rests with the party alleging the breach. The burden of proof rests on the party making the allegations, while the respondent must provide evidence for any defenses. Satisfactory proof is required for successful claims. Count 2 alleges a breach of due diligence, defined as the failure to take all reasonable measures required by law to prevent harm. Armenian authorities allegedly failed due diligence in areas like investigating violations and pursuing legal remedies. Accountability is necessary for internationally wrongful acts, necessitating remedies due to the state's omissions. Provisional measures, compensation, and property restitution are sought. The prosecution's integrated legal theory rests on foreseeable risks and the authority to act. The failure to take reasonable measures resulted in harm, supporting the request for provisional measures. Provisional measures are urgently requested from the court to protect the population and prevent further irreparable harm, supported by the integrated legal theory. The assault led to the forced displacement of over 100,000 Armenians from Artsakh, with nearly the entire population fleeing within 10 days. This collapse is confirmed by independent reports. The 10-month blockade of the Lachin corridor severely impacted Artsakh, causing critical shortages of food and essential supplies. This crisis was widely recognized as a foreseeable threat to civilian life and contributed to the mass displacement. Reports document killings, disappearances, and torture. Over 200 servicemen and civilians were killed, and at least 14 cases of torture were reported. The attack allegedly aimed to eliminate the Armenian presence in Karabakh. The rapid collapse left Artsakh civilians completely unprotected, with over 115,000 people fleeing within days. Blockade, famine, and military threat emptied the region, and a forced agreement ended resistance. This final slide focuses on Nikol Pashinyan and the calls for his removal from office, concluding the analysis of the surrounding issues. We have covered the allegations and the context for the calls for Nikol Pashinyan's removal from office.